Today we're looking at the 2025 Men's Open Trans-Tasman Series.
Oh, how about that? It's even better.
Count of the man, count of the hour.
That is sensational.
Okay, so this is game 2 of the 2025 Trans-Tasman Series. Australia versus New Zealand in the Men's Open. And right out of the gate, we have a rolling quickie leading into Australia's first try. So let's have a look at this one. So it's just off their rucking pattern. And this becomes middle. So it's simple. And what you're going to find in this game is Australia are going to not rely on too many different plays. And they're going to be very basic. It's just run very well. So middle, he's going to split open and take up the position outside the back middle. That becomes his hole. That way, the dummy half has the option to either go short side or he can use that hole there, having a 4-on-3. So as we have it here, but the slight adjustment here is it's a hard split to the open side, and you basically start running as fast as you can. Because as you can see, this guy here, his eyes are on the ball and he's backpedaling. So you take 2 steps with the ball from dummy half, and we call rolling the player on. It's rolling the guy who played the ball. We're rolling him on. We're getting in front of him and giving the ball all in that same motion while he is on the acceleration. So you can see now he's realized. Now the defender has realized it's a foot race and the Australian player has a head start. And that's basically what this play is. You take 2 steps forward from dummy half. You get those middles interested in you, and they don't see the acceleration from the player who's played the ball. And by the time that's happened, as you can see, it's now just a foot race. This link has bit too far in. Probably just needs a little bit of communication from his inside middle. He's a bit too far in and he just misses that touch. So it's just a rolling reverse quickie, that one. New Zealand hit back here. I wouldn't say I love this try. What I will say is I've never seen it before. And the commentators make note of it too. This is actually link and wing, or New Zealand, that's 2 and 1. And the winger has the ball, and he's going to run like a wing punish or a quickie on the wing, because you'll see in one of their other tries as well, New Zealand have probably noticed that Australia, their wingers like to just get active and just help make a touch here and there. And when they do that, they actually come in a long way off the sideline. And when there's all that vacant space behind them that's uncovered and undefended, and there's no help on one side, you can pretty much just target their outside feet when they come up and make a touch like this, because they don't have help here. Every other player, all the links in the middles, they've got help either side. Whereas the winger doesn't. It's just the sideline. And the sideline you can't see in camera right now, because it's a long way to his left. So whether or not this was planned or just some good eyes up here, the Australian winger, he probably is not used to getting pressured like this. So he's just casually stepping out of the touch, and New Zealand jump on that and just dive in the actual corner for a quickie. Now, like I said, I've never seen that before in any game, let alone a men's open between the 2 best teams in the world. So it's a 21 quickie on the wing and a little throw of the ball celebration, which you'll see Malcolm Kenny from Australia get a little bit of revenge on that soon. This is another basic play. It's like a ninja. It's kind of like a ninja. We call it in Australia. We call it a boy. The only reason we call it a boy is, well, there is a reason. I'm not going to discuss it on the channel because it's a little bit on the R-rated side. But anytime you run a play like this with a little inside pass, like a little trail, you can just have 2 different names for it. One's going in and one's going out. So what happens here? We're just going to go from boy, and obviously the outplay would be girl because it's the opposite. So it looks like a quickie. It looks like a middle quickie, where he's going to step to the open side and attack the toucher while he's offside. That's what it's set up to look like as a platform. And as you can see, the toucher is pulling corner. But what the dummy half does is he takes a step. You can see he's taken a step towards to make this player make sure he's pulling corner, because they're giving the impression that they're running that way. It also makes this guy a little bit tighter and interested. Now, I do have a video where we can play a black, which is you just turn and rip the ball to the link. If you identify that this link is very, very tight, that is also an option. But what they run here is the dummy half runs back to the open, and you can see that they parallel each other's lines. They both curl around like this, because now this guy has to make a play for the dummy half. And this guy's already pulled corner, so for him to make that same motion whilst running backwards and flipping his hips to try and square himself up, very difficult. Extremely difficult. And as you can see, falls over trying to do so. So you can see in his head he knows what to do, but it's just too hard for him to do that. Now, it's a nice play, and if you have a middle where he's struggling to recover like that, the only thing that I could say to defend this is identify in the peripheral vision of this middle and try and bash that ball down. Just try and stick an arm, just try and get up a little bit, stick an arm out. If you let him through, you let him through. Everyone mans up on the short side, but yeah, try and just bash that ball down. But it's a nice little boy try. You can call it a ninja if you want. I just associate ninja with a reverse quickie pass. This is just a Rooster with a long ball, and this is a bit of a defensive error by Australia. You'll see a lot of plays with a simple Rooster in this game, or a 32 peel, which is the New Zealand term for this. So 32 peel, the 3 going down for the 2, or the middle going down for the link. Peel meaning you give and get around. You're peeling around the player that you just passed the ball. And by doing that, it actually gives you the numbers, because you're a live player and can run through and score a try. This guy's pulled corner, and you can see he's pointing to his inside. So if this middle steps up to cover, you've peeled around. Now you have the numbers. Now you have a 4-on-3. So as they run that, this guy has done well not to bite too much, because the try line's a little bit further away from him. He can backpedal a bit. But essentially, as far as the attack goes, he comes in, he gets the ball, and now it's only link wing in defense with middle link wing in attack. So there's a 3-on-2. And this Rooster or peel was given quite early while on the run. And that we won't talk about. We'll talk more about the on the run part in the next Rooster that we do see. But when I said error, you can see that Australia have done a good job to sort of recover and man on here. They're doing a really good job, and a late switch isn't really an option, because this player who made the touch is actually working overtime to try and cover that gate in the middle. So Australia's done really good here, but because looking at the ball, yes, you may be able to see this player here, but the winger, if I was the winger and I looked in so slightly and I saw this player looking at the ball, I would think that he's going to hit. He's going to fly in, which means it just puts him in a little bit of doubt. Now, I know that shouldn't happen, Men's Open Australia, but look, it's something that it's inevitable for humans to make mistakes like that. So we just need communication. I've got a video that shows examples like this, where everyone's good except someone just isn't sure, so they come in. And that's what happens. When you're unsure, you come in. And New Zealand just picked the right pass with a nice finish in the end. And a big look to the camera. So New Zealand, they get an early lead here. And it was looking actually pretty promising. And here's another Rooster with just some quick hands. So exactly the same play as before, the 32 peel. There's the 3 going down for the 2, or the middle going down for the link. Good body shape here, pulling corner. He is wide. Notice this. Now, when you want to give it to your wrapper quite quickly, you can come in from a wide 45-degree angle. Because that way, when you're starting wide, this defender here can be pretty wide. And when you're running at a 45 degree, inwards into that middle hole, he's got to then come in to cover it. So he's got to come from a little bit wider than he'd probably start with normally, and he's got to come in. And when he does that, the wrapper accelerates, and then by the time he gets it, that's the distance between middles. It's a good job by the link here to put early pressure on him and come and hit, but it's nice just sleight of hand there from Australia. Unfortunately, the winger was probably just a little bit too deep. But it was a well-worked play. It was very unlucky to not stop that from New Zealand. And there was that little throw over again, just getting his way back a bit from the winger doing it to him. So this is just a try off rucking. You don't normally see this in elite games, tries like this. But what we say is the reason we get the inside shoulder, because obviously it just ends up as a 2-on-1, this is the reason we get the inside shoulder of this second touch here. So link on link, he gets the inside shoulder. And the New Zealand bloke, for some reason, he's tried to give him a hard shove. And he's turned in only to then come around and need to basically defend in his spot. So there was no need to shove him over because now you're sweeping around. And if there's no action by this middle in cover, it's a 2-on-1. If he gets the outside shoulder, he doesn't do his spin. This guy here, he doesn't do his spin and he doesn't get late for his assignment. He's already in the body shape towards his sideline. But then we see an isolated winger. The middle's just not quite able to get over. And Australia go down and level the scoring. So we're just getting late in the first half now. And this is just a repeat of the Quickie on the wing. So I am going to assume that New Zealand have done homework on Australia, and they've seen that the winger wants to come up and just make a touch, just relieve pressure off his links and his middles as much as he can early in the count when normally there wouldn't be a threat. However, it's just a bounce. It's a simple bounce. That's all it is. It looks like he's going to dummy half, and as he's getting closer to making the touch, he just bounces and changes his angle just to make himself that much wide that the Australian winger can't just reach and get him. And by the time he reacts, he's gone. And New Zealand hit back to the lead. Nice little splitter play with a long ball. Unfortunately, this one's a terrible angle. I do have some stuff about a splitter, but what's happening here, it's a middle Quickie. With the idea of a splitter, the link is sort of behind the dumper, and it's not really someone that you can see him, but if you've got tunnel vision on the touch and you're worried about policy, he may go unnoticed. So this guy's going to split hard, which in theory should make the defender split just as hard because he wants to cover that Quickie. He thinks he's getting the ball back. Meanwhile, the link comes up the middle. This guy is very important to pass and then get back out of the way. Okay, if he stays too close, the back middle comes up, a lot of arrows. The back middle comes up, spreads his arms, and is able to touch both of you. So you want to create that distance. So we don't have much angle on this. But as you can see it's terrible how the camera moved. You can see he's just angled himself to get away from the ball or the person with the ball, to create that space where one defender can't touch two people. And he just picks the long ball. Everyone's running a hole and he just goes long. What do we got here? Sweeper and a dive. So it's just a 33, middle. All right, sweeper's coming around and he's going to attack this guy. He's going to try and dive whatever side of his feet he can see a bigger gap. The problem with New Zealand here is this guy's way too far up. He needed to be back in line with his link, and that hurts him as well, being that's that far up. And that's why in attack, you try to get those middles up because he's still offside, and he probably didn't even get there. So he had to worry about making the touch and getting onside at the same time, whereas he could have been almost onside before the sweeper even got the ball. So we call that pre-touch. It's just understanding when the touch is imminent and getting yourself back on side. 32 peel again. Well defended. Counties. So I have a video that run this play if not everything's going to plan. So number one you can see is the main ball player in this pod of Australians here. So they run a rooster, they go back to short, it's well defended, and now they're in a position where they probably didn't anticipate that running, because obviously they can't run another rooster because they're all in different positions, so you run the counties. And all you need to do is, if you find yourself in the middle, go down on your middle, split in, get the ball back, and take on that offside player. No one changes positions in a counties, which is why I like it. Purists are going to say that's not a good enough play the ball. I'm going to say it's fine because he was pushed. Okay, we need to allow some leniency there. And yeah, you're just attacking this player, and then everyone else is trying to hit a hole. He goes to the link option. Winger comes in just a fraction late, and they're able to just get that pass off. So that's a counties, and he's really emphasizing that post-try celebration. This is a nice one. Don't know why he fell over, but we faked the 33 peel here. So I've got a video about faking the 33 peel or faking the ML. So middle, he split outside. And normally you'd give it to this link running at the offside player here, and you would peel around him for the 33 peel. It's like a rooster on the opposite side, which makes this player here, this middle, interested in touching the ball player because he needs to cover the space between the middles. However, like the first try, it ends up being like a rolling reverse quickie, where you hit him just on the burst and it becomes a foot race. And he's noticed that this link has jammed in. Probably just needed to give the short ball, but because the link's jammed in, the tap back was on. Nice try. Another rooster. This is another rooster just giving an early release, because you've probably noticed that there's tight middles. Don't have to look at this one too much. Tight middles, early release, running at speed at the angle, creating the foot race between your opposing middle, and it just beats him for speed. We've covered the rooster a couple of times, so we can move on. But it's just a quick release when you identify that you have tight middles. Loose middles means you can ball play a little bit more. So this is a great. I really was happy when I saw this try, because I don't like when people pull out of touches. Okay, now a lot of people will say he tried to make the touch. Now I'm not convinced that you're trying to make the touch there if you are running away. You might have done a little swipe. Okay, but I think that is a great example of how players are very cleverly milking a voluntary roll ball penalty and claiming that they attempted to make the touch. Because if he does roll the ball there, it does look like he tried to make the touch. Okay, because he was up there and he swung his arm out, but he didn't make the touch, and now look, everyone's back. And he capitalized. He just decides, well, if you're not going to make the touch and you're going to roll back to the line, then I'm going to dive at your feet because you're on the line. Another rooster, quick release. So again, we've seen tight middles. The middles are going this way. So what do? We run from wide at a 45 degree with a peel around. So that's really important. Running that 45 degree and then passing off the back foot. You can see the space that you've generated between the two middles. And now it's a 3-on-2. And he throws the dummy. So they've run that play a few times now, and it's paying off really well for Australia. But it's just that 45-degree angle that's really, really doing wonders. Passive out the back. And this is defended correctly. It's just a miss. That's all it is. It's middle. He goes short. Now, this is important. When you're wanting to ball play, a lot of times teams will just run. Well, that's terrible. That's supposed to be a straight line. They just pick up and they run. And this player isn't actually committed to pulling corner. Because sometimes people don't pull corner on a dummy half. So he runs short, and before he's onside, he comes back. He steps back. Because if this guy now isn't nice and tight, he can just stroll through into the in goal. And on the open side, if you get into the in goal, it's very easy to score. So now he's got the options. This guy's hitting a hole. You can see an arm here. So he's just getting into frame. So he can go short through the front door, or he can go, as he does, out the back. He goes out the back. Now, it's very difficult for this defender normally to be able to defend both here. Unfortunately, it wasn't the perfect pass where he had to jump to catch it and slow himself down. The best way to defend this consistently, because not everyone has a link that can recover and do both, is winger gets a read, and if it can see an out the back ball, fly in and make the touch, with the link then making a beeline out the back to defend the wing, which is what they do. He comes in, he just misses, but you can see the link. I know it looks like he's running away from his own player, but he's actually covering that tip-on pass to go and touch the winger. So as far as policy goes, that is correct. The winger just missed. But like, no disrespect to the winger. That's one of the hardest touches an open side winger has to do. This one here, we don't need to talk about this one too much. It's just a 32 drop. By drop, I mean dump. And it's just offside players. The unfortunate thing here is we had two middles in the touch. So you can see there, this middle's trying to help out. However, this middle's still up in the touch. So because you got two middles in the touch, this is a link at dummy half. So you got two options. You can just rip pass, and then it becomes a foot race with the ball player and the number 16 defender. Or what he does here is he understands that one middle is just completely running away, and all he has to do is footwork on an offside player. Now the touch is made, but like I said, he's offside. And now it's just a case of finding open grass. New Zealand's final try. This is a weird one because it's a 33 peel. It's an ML, but it's run quite slow. When you think about the speed of this compared to everything else in this game, it's run really slow. So it's a good one to actually watch and sort of analyze yourself. Middle. Okay, number 7 is running onto this as a link, and they're going to peel around him, and he's attacking the guy that made the touch. And you can see that E4 Jones, after dumping the ball, is going to straighten up and go into that hole. And there's the hole there. He just gets the ball down in time. But it's just interesting how slow that was. But I guess what we want to see is my opinion on this try. So last play of the game, New Zealand are throwing the ball around, and this happens. They run away, and they score a try, only for it to be brought back for an obstruction call. Now, if we go back and have a look here, this is where the referee says there's an obstruction. Now, I'm okay with you running, if you run around a player like this, which causes a collision, and a player can't get to you, I'm okay with that being an obstruction. Me personally, I hate divers. And I think it's Corey Russell here, and he's done a very... Look, I'm not calling him a diver. He's actually done this really smart. But he's drawn a penalty, but I think he wrapped his arm around. And he's done that smart too because he knows that where the referee is, you probably can't see his arm. But I don't think this should be a penalty because I think he's taken a dive. That's just my personal opinion. Like, I'm not saying that if he didn't take that dive, it wasn't going to be an obstruction anyway. I just don't like milking penalties. It just sort of just something that really, really bugs me. But anyway, whether or not he was going to get there anyway, I'm not sure. And part of me just really wanted to see a drop off. I guess that's all that is. Oh well. But yeah, Australia take out the victory 2-0 at the time, and they won the third game as well. But this game was an absolute cracker of a game. It was really enjoyable to watch, and I'm sure it would have been intense to be a part of. So thanks very much for watching. Sorry this video got out a little bit late. It was a quick turnaround to make this one. And thank you guys, and we'll see you on the next video.